Barry Gottman, we would like you to come forward and lead us in the pledge to the flag. If we'd all stand and face the flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Betty, if you'll call the agenda, Betty Price.
This special called meeting this evening is for the discussion of approval of the City of Roswell to host the Atlanta-Roswell Giro d'Italia Gran Fondo bicycling ride and festival in October of 2014, as presented by Colonel Asenbrag.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I know that you've just had 2 hours of vegetables, so now a little bit of dessert and coffee for the end of your evening. What we're going to discuss tonight is the best information that we have about an opportunity that has presented itself to us. And the question before you is, do we want to take advantage of this? So what I've done is tried to put it's just a very brief presentation. It sort of summarizes what you've already been exposed to previously, but maybe to help to frame the discussion a little bit. We did get a few more details since the last time we talked, so let me just go over briefly. The Giro d'Italia, the country of Italy, every year for 100 years has hosted a bicycle race around the country where the best pros of the world compete in a course that changes every year. I have been to the Giro d'Italia. It is a very exciting event, and it is mirrored along the Tour de France. It's the same sort of thing. So the Giro d'Italia, the company RCS Sports, is promoting the concept of a Gran Fondo, which is essentially trying to replicate the stage. Each of these races within the Giro d'Italia is called a stage, and that is a one-day race. And so they're trying to export this across the world and give riders the opportunity to experience that. So they promote the Italian culture, food, lifestyle, the race experience, and they're marketing this to different cities. So what we have is basically the concept of a weekend, and in just general areas, what we're talking about is a Saturday and Sunday, which the Saturday would be what we call an expo, where it would be a series of tents and booths where the various participants would come in and pick up their race packets at the expo here at City Hall. Saturday night there's a gala dinner. Sunday we start a ride. The focus, the backbone of which is about 100 miles long. We call that a century ride in the parlance of bicycling. There are also smaller rides, say a 30-mile and a 60-mile, but they would start and end here at Roswell in the City Hall. There will be rest stops along the way for this ride. There'll be intersection and traffic control. There is one significant element in this Gran Fondo, which is a timed hill climb, which is kind of at our discretion from what I understand, but there's a section of a hill where the riders will have a chip and they'll pass a start point and they'll ride as hard as they can to the end, and then the riders will be basically graded electronically by the fastest man and the fastest woman through that. So, and then we have some mechanical support for people to break down, and Sunday after the rides there's a sort of a pasta dinner. So that's basically the framework of what we've got going. Riding, starting and stopping at City Hall. So here is our campus. What we've done is we've looked at the various elements. Of course, we have City Hall and its parking. We have the cultural arts. We have the library, State Route 9, Hill Street. The concept right now, we all understand that there is an event at the Cultural Arts Center here on our campus. So if we subtract out some parking that they need to run their events on Saturday, we're looking at maybe some areas here with the expo being, say, in the grass around where the Memorial Day ceremony is. This is a picture that I got off the internet about what an expo looks like. This is a picture from the Giro. That doesn't show up too good. I don't know if you guys can see it, but basically it's showing a bunch of booths with people milling around, picking up their race packets, buying stuff, and look at vendor things. That's essentially what the expo is. Just as a sort of a discussion point, this is what Parks and Rec provided for me when we do our Memorial Day ceremony every year here right out behind City Hall, where we set up chairs and booths. So the idea of setting up the City Hall grounds for an event of 3,000 people is not unheard of. It's just going to be a little bit different than that. The start, this is what the start looked like in Beverly Hills. The idea is that the racers will line up along a start line. There'll be probably Italian cars and motorcycles, and here's this one that looked like in Miami, Beverly Hills. They have sporty cars, and they have riders, and they have the trophy. This is what we're looking at right now along Hill Street. Would be to do the same thing, where we would close off Hill Street, line up all the riders, have a great banner or some other stuff that would happen, and then the riders would take off. Currently, the concept is to go up State Route 9 up through. Basically, what we're doing in order to have a grand event would be to go up through Alpharetta, go into the countryside, go up around Jasper, which is where a place called Big Canoe is, and there's a big mountain there called Burnt Mountain, and we would ride up the mountain. That would be the time part, and then come back. Right now that comes out to about 105 miles. Not sure this will be the final ride, but the idea is it would be pretty dramatic and pretty exciting and pretty heavy duty. I've also provided this to you because I don't know if you can see this really well, but if you overlay this onto Google Earth, basically we're touching 5 counties to do that. We're just barely touching Forsyth, but basically it's Fulton, Cherokee, Pickens, and then a little bit of Dawson County. So we'll have to coordinate with those sheriff and police departments to make sure that they understand that we're going to have perhaps anywhere from 1,000, 1,500, if we do good marketing, maybe 2,000 riders doing this event. So there'll be this big one-day ride that will gain a lot of exposure and a lot of notoriety to all the different municipalities that this touches. That is what we understand to be the nuts and bolts moving forward. I know you have a lot of questions about the costs. There are a lot of unknowns about the cost, but what we do know is that the Southern Bicycle League will be our partners. That we, Roswell, the city of Roswell, will work with Southern Bicycle League and work with RCS Sport, the Giro d'Italia. They have money budgeted for police, emergency medical, porta potties, garbage, those sorts of things. The bottom line is that most of those fixed costs should be paid for by the people that buy sponsorship booths and sponsorship for this. And so, by and large, there should not be a lot of costs to the city. City Administrator Kay Love and I have had lengthy conversations about we know that there'll be a lot of management involved in this, and that we are going to recommend a line item with a range of costs to hire a event director for the city to help work through all these details. But we will have an event director with Southern Bicycle League, who is Mr. Barry Gottman, an event director with Bike Roswell, who is Mr. Frank Eastland. You'll have city staff, possibly have an event coordinator here within the city that will work on this full-time, part-time to help work this out. And we have 10 months because the plan is for this to occur in October 18th and 19th of this year. So that is about as much information as I have to share with you.
One other point, are we talking with Alpharetta about partnering?
As a matter of fact, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 3:30, Kay and I are going up to talk to the city administrator and their special events coordinator, Janet Rogers. My understanding is Alfred is very interested in partnering with the city of Roswell on this. But we'll know more details tomorrow about whether they will partner with us as far as paying for police or those sorts of details.
Anyone else do we hear from before the council wants to ask questions?
Did I do okay? Did I miss anything?
Game starts at 8:30.
Hard to follow, but I mean, if I can say a few words.
Come forward, please. Be very brief. This council has a game to go to, I understand.
I understand, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that, and I'd like to see it myself. I've had the honor and the pleasure of talking to, I believe, all of you before about what I believe this will do for Roswell, the Atlanta metro area, and not only from a cycling perspective, but a tourism perspective, a growth perspective, to turn it into a whole week-long Italian cultural festival highlighted by the ride. Very good potential to put, heads in beds for the CVB. We've got some potential of having the gala dinner here, press conferences, right near the start of the ride, a final press conference, but the initial announcement locally we want to have right here at this building, and I am trying to get the trophy in and possibly some Italian dignitaries along with making this the press conference, so we'll initially get a lot of bang going on here.
When do y'all want to schedule that press conference?
In March, Mr. Mayor. Right. I don't have an exact date yet, but we should have that almost firmed up by the end of the week. The grandness of this event, and I've tried to communicate that with all of you in the previous discussions I've had, is at a level that no bike ride around here has ever seen or people have not seen. It's basically a pro-level support and activated event for the everyday rider, which is a great thing for me as an everyday rider to look forward to.
What I understand that you're asking, the request tonight is this council, in concept, support this so that there's a comfort level with the announcement that we're moving forward.
Correct.
This is my question, given that we do not have firm details. When do we think we'll have something to come back to this council with some specific proposals? And that's really addressed to Steve, but also to staff. When do we, we're asking for a green light to move forward, but the sooner we come back to this council with some numbers, the better it's going to be for all parties. So when do we think we can have some real numbers?
If I can get some clarification on numbers, what really numbers you're looking for?
I
might have them, and I might.
Well, there are two things. One is there's a potential to partner with Alpharetta, which can have a big impact on on how this thing is shared. Where these events are. Okay. But this council needs to know at some point in time what are the demands upon the city are going to be, and two, what cost are the city going to be asked to share. I understand we haven't resolved all that. There are further negotiations and further discussions, but when do we think, I want a target date of when we want to come back to council with a budget for this council to approve.
Okay. In truth, Mr. Mayor, there is really no request for the city to fund anything. We have that budgeted out in conversation with RCS and the Giro to be a shared expense between the Southern Bicycle League and them. So the only other thing I can say, and I've said before, the keys of this event not being a one and done and being back for years to come.
Let me put it to a different way. At some point in time, we'll want to enter a contract.
Oh, yeah.
When do we think we'll have a contract back for council's approval, whether for whatever the council commitment is, when do we anticipate having a contract back to sign?
I should have all the final details this week from RCS, so within no later than 2 to 3 weeks, I would guess.
Within 30 days, we hope to have a contract back to this council for their consideration.
Yep, correct, sir.
Other questions that council may have? Councilmember DiPolito.
I just want to clarify that there's no cost to the city for this?
No, there is no requested cost. But as I've stated before, the profitability side of the event to the Giro and the RCS is important for them to keep scheduling the event and investing in the event and the city and the area. And the importance to the Southern Bicycle League is to be able to generate enough revenue to help further bicycling and for a charitable cause to be able to give them as much money as possible. So what has happened in other cities, and I can only give you this as an example, is that other cities have say, okay, we're going to contribute so much of the funding that you would set aside for whatever to help the level of profitability of the event for both sides, to help it be that much of a bigger positive to everyone concerned.
Kay would like to add to this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to clarify for the record, while there hasn't been a request for a specific dollar amount, because there are so many unknowns about the amount of required hours of manpower for the city, or exactly what will be needed between the expo and the race, and one budget number that we were given by Mr. Gottman was about $15,000. So one of the things that we thought was important is that, while he's saying there's not an intent for a financial requirement of the city, I believe that there will be some financial requirement of the city. I don't know what that will be, and not knowing how profitable the event will be, we have to be prepared to participate at whatever level the council deems appropriate. So I can appreciate what Mr. Gottman says, but I want us to be clear that we don't know that right now tonight. That's why you do have a number of an estimate of just staff's best guess of what we might ask for in the special events budget in the FY 2015 budget process. As things get refined, we'll certainly come back and let you know that that number might be zero, but it might not be zero.
Well, I hope if it's not zero, it's because you want to make it, contributory.
Councilmember Orleans.
I guess my question is back to Kay and staff is, from what you know thus far, can it be handled by staff and the police department and whatever departments are involved? I guess that's more of a key than even the cost, that it's the abilities there with other things that are going on.
It can be handled with some additional staff. Part of that number includes hiring someone for a certain number of hours, whether you want to call it part-time over a long period or full-time for a very concentrated area of a person to coordinate and manage this event, and a coordination of people from the staff's perspective. We will have to augment if the decision is made to go forward with the event in its current form, then we will make it happen in the best way we can, but there'll have to be some augmentation of resources, but we don't know what that is right now. We don't know what the route is. We don't know.
Yeah. What do you mean by hire somebody on their side or our side?
Our side.
Our side.
That's what this number includes.
Hire somebody to coordinate from our side to deal
Correct.
with them.
To deal with the logistics of coordinating building ops with Recreation and Parks, with the police department, with transportation, with the other municipalities that will be involved. Steve already has a full-time job.
Yeah.
And so because he's involved in Bike Roswell, sometimes we just assume, oh, well, staff can do that, staff can do that, and if we're going to do it, we need to do it right, and it's going to require a lot of time, and we will be coming off things like the Youth Day Parade and such that requires a lot of other staff time, so it will be necessary for us to help staff.
For clarification, one, the staff is estimating about $15,000, which again is their best estimate. We could be less. I don't think it's going to be substantially more. The second point is, regardless of the Gran Fondo, we are finding the demand for special events grows every year, and we are at the limit from a personnel standpoint of how much time we can spend. So Kay is working with our chief to try to see how we can augment that, and that's going to be done regardless of this event. This event, it will help that if we do it, so that's part of the augmentation. The council will have to make the decision. It will cost more money, but I believe it's consistent with the direction the city's going in, to say special events are a big part of the personality of Roswell, and we're going to spend more money on it, not in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but in the tens of, $10,000 or $15,000 more a year, I think, if we continue to expand. I I support it. It'll be part of the budget. We'll have to look at it, but the first step is we've got to find out where we can augment our police department and perhaps our transportation department to get extra part-timers. We don't want to have to staff up for these special events, but we do need to bring people in, and that's going to be part of it, which is a bigger picture. But I think if this council moves forward, Kay's saying be prepared of the possibility of spending $15,000, not $50,000. This isn't going to be a Olympic event. It's going to be a Gran Fondo. We're not looking for Olympic-size overruns. We're going to be careful in our budget, but we do anticipate expenses in being involved. And what I'm hoping is within 30 days, we'll know what those are. Councilmember Price.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very excited about the prospect of bringing a major bicycle event to the Roswell area, and also to learn a little bit about Italian culture. I think it could be a real nice adjunct to combine that in our city. My concern, or one of my concerns, is the wording of the agenda item, which is approval to host. And I think that since there would be some contingencies based on contractual obligations that we don't know of yet, that I might word it a little differently, that we give the go-ahead to the city to proceed in that direction, but obviously to commit without knowing exactly what we're committing to, any kind of contract, I think we'll have to be real careful there.
What I would request is that you make a motion to approve the concept subject conditioned upon approval of a contract. So although the agenda item might not reflect that, it's the motion where the meat is, and it's the motion the council will be voting on. Councilmember Eichelhardt.
Thank you. I support both the event and even spending the money, but I don't want to be told that, well, it's not going to cost us anything. So as we move forward, let's just be honest about what the situation is. So please don't tell us it won't cost us anything when it is. So that's why we're here, because frankly, we didn't have that information, and we wanted to know what are those details. That's why we're here tonight. So again, I support it, but let's make sure that we're told the truth and the real numbers as we go.
Well, council member, if I can tell you that.
Don't say any more. Don't say any more. You're fine.
Okay.
You're a salesman. We appreciate that.
I'm
Other
a cyclist.
questions? Do we have, yes, Councilmember DiPolito?
I guess from what we're approving tonight, are we approving a dollar amount?
We'll hear what the motion is. I'm not sure we're approving a dollar amount. There's been a representation of what staff thinks it will take, but I'm not sure it's even the approval of a dollar amount. It's in essence approving a concept subject to a contract is what I would suggest the motion be. And if the council is not committing to any dollar amount, but staff is, if it comes back at $100,000, we're all going to duck and cover, and we'll say, I'm sorry, that didn't going to fly.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments before we entertain a motion? Do we have a motion?
Well, now that you've said that, and another thought has come up. If it's subject to a contract, at what point does the contract get approved?
Well, hopefully in 30 days, we'll have a contract to come back for your consideration. This council will have every legal right to turn down that contract if they choose not to. But we didn't want to move forward with no understanding. We understand the press of time. We need to get a press release out. But Mr. Davidson, if we have the motion conditioned upon the contract, Mr. Halsey, there'd be no downside of backing out, right? Other than we'd look stupid, but I've done that before. So, do we have a motion?
Especially with Speedos.
Lycra, they're not Speedos.
So let me get this straight then.
I'll have to lose a lot of weight.
Depending on what we do this evening, there will be an announcement of sorts?
This would be, an announcement would be made by Giro Italia that they're going to do a Gran Fondo in Roswell within a week or so.
And it'll be termed Atlanta-Roswell because will be the official city title, if you will.
Right, so if we have an announcement and then for whatever reason we can't agree on contractual details,
Do we have another announcement?
then we have another announcement. So that's my question, does the city of Roswell make the announcement, or does the entity?
We will be present. We will be there and all your smiling faces to be part of this announcement. And if it doesn't fly, we'll also be present when we make the announcement.
Okay, my motion is to approve in concept the City of Roswell hosting the Atlanta-Roswell, and my Italian is not so good, Giro d'Italia, Gran Fondo Bicycle Ride and Festival in October 2014, subject to contractual considerations and financing.
That works. We do have a second. Motion by Councilmember Price, second by Councilmember Eichelhardt. Does anyone in the audience have any comments? Be quiet and you'll probably pass. Hearing no comments, any further discussion from council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. We're adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
You're in. You did. You just got yourself a bike ride in Roswell.
I don't know what elements of the contract was looking at that he doesn't know.
That was more just politics. We'll work it out. I have every expectation. This is going to go